Hi, this is Joseph from NizhoniPhoto.com, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about light painting. So, unfortunately, I would have liked to have had my camera in the field with me while I was catching the shot, but I didn't have it at the time. So, I'm just going to have to walk you through this image and exactly what I did to capture this photo. The first thing I want to talk about is the lens I used. As you can see, I used a 12 millimeter 2.8 lens. So that is a ultra wide angle fisheye lens. Here are the settings that I'm using. Obviously, I have it at an f2.8. I wanted to catch as much light as I could, an ISO of 2000, and a 30-second shutter speed. Okay, now I probably could have used a lower ISO because essentially what I did from this point is I would open my lens up for this 30-second exposure, and then I just kind of lightly painted the areas around this tree with my light. Now I'll get into that in 1 second, but the first thing I wanted to talk about was the flashlight that I like to use. So here it is. It's the Maglite Heavy Duty Incandescent 2-cell flashlight. This is the one I recommend. It's pretty cheap. It's very durable, and it gives off a really warm, pleasing light. So this is the light that I would really recommend that you use. It has an adjustable head up here, so you can twist it and you can adjust how powerful the beam is. So you can twist it and it will become a long, straight beam, or you can create like a softer, wider beam. Actually, one thing that I'm planning on doing is actually putting a piece of filter paper over this lens so that I create kind of like a softbox over the lens. Because as I was painting this tree, what I essentially had to do is, you can twist this lens to kind of adjust how powerful the beam is. And if you twist it to the point to where it's the most wide beam possible, what it does is there's light around the edge, but then in the center of the light that's emitting from the flashlight, there's a little dark black spot. And what you really want to do is you want to kind of paint the light very lightly with the sides of the flashlight. You don't want to point the flashlight directly on the tree. If you do that, what's going to happen is you're going to get really hot areas on the tree where there's too much light and you just kind of blow out the detail. So the trick is to kind of set your camera up, use a long exposure, and then kind of like creep the light in on the edge of the frame. Okay? That's what you really want to do. Another thing that's really helpful is you can kind of cast a shadow as long as you're pointing your light in a certain direction. So I kind of did that here a little bit, but what I was really focusing on was really just to get some nice even light along the base of this tree and going up into it, because I still wanted to have some stars in the sky. So that's the basic technique I use for light painting. Again, with that piece of filter paper over the lens, I think it'll work a lot better because you can just shine the light right where you want it to go and you don't have to worry about overshining the light too much. Another thing I want to talk about is focusing. So this lens is, again, it's a 12 millimeter fisheye. So I was actually probably about a foot away from this tree right here. It's kind of incredible how this lens distorts your view. So the best way to focus is what I actually did is to focus a third into the frame. So by that, what I mean is imagine that you have, let's see if I can do this here. Let's see. I can't get this to show the grids. Sorry about that, guys. But imagine that you had your frame split up into thirds. So you had a third would be here, and a third would be here. You want to focus a third into your frame, because if you do that, in theory, everything behind this focus point and beyond it is going to be in focus. It's called the hyperfocal distance. So by focusing right about here on the tree, you can see that the tree is in pretty good focus, but the rocks are also in acceptably sharp focus. They're not razor sharp, but they're acceptably sharp. So that's what you want to do when you're focusing. If you're just focusing on stars, then you would probably want to focus your lens to infinity. But with a lens like this, where you're right up on your subject, you want to focus into a third of the frame. Okay, so let's get right into the editing. The white balance is okay, but let's see what happens if we play around with it. I might, you know what? I kind of like it if I cool it down just a little bit. Let's play around with the tint. Maybe just a little bit more magenta. Might bump up the exposure a little bit, put some more contrast into it. Let's pull the highlights down just a little because we're getting a lot of the detail back in this brighter spot here. And let's play around with the shadows. Let's see what that does. That looks pretty cool. Alright, let's adjust the whites. Now again, the way we like to do this is we tap the J key to show where our highlights are going to be, so that way we can get a good view as to what we're doing. I think that looks pretty good. We might adjust the blacks a little bit. Already, this image is really starting to come together. Let's see a before and an after. Very subtle change. Let's play with the clarity. This is an interesting image because we can really go to town on the clarity and it doesn't really thrash our image. So 70 is good, but let's back it down to maybe 60. Okay. Vibrance, I don't think we're going to need anything there for now. Because what I would prefer to do is go down to my HSL panel. Now the first thing I'm noticing here is that there's too much red in this tree. Okay, I think that incandescent light kind of accentuated the red. So I'm actually going to desaturate my reds to about 80. And if you look, it actually makes this image look a lot more natural. We can brighten up the greens in our leaves just a little bit, that's a lot, up to about 80, but that still looks pretty good. Now, another problem I'm seeing with this image are these stars. For whatever reason, these stars came out as blue. I'm not really sure what I did there, but we can fix that pretty easily just by desaturating our blues all the way. And now we have nice white pearly stars. All right. We will add in a little bit of sharpening and make sure to mask it out. Hold the Option key and slide the masking slider to where it looks pretty good. And right about there seems good. Looks good to me. And now we might add in just a little bit of dehaze. And that looks pretty good. Let's see a before and an after. Okay. Might add in just a bit of vibrance. Okay, and there you have it. That's it for this image for now. Hopefully this was helpful. Stay tuned for more videos. Thanks.